Hey everyone, welcome back to Talking Cardboard. Today we have a double feature, 2 games we're going to be looking at. If you like any part of this video, any part, so like things you don't like, if you like any part of this video, subscribe, because we're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, which is a pretty big deal. Before I say anything more, let's get into it. Before we talk about the games, let's reintroduce the players. As usual, I have John on my right, I'm Jurch, and we've got Corey on my left. So John, what was the first game we played last night, and can you go into a little detail about it?
Yeah, the first game we played was Rune Stones, and this game was actually really fun and I think it's really unique to anything I've ever played before. I would say it's kind of a combo between deck building and resource generation, with your ultimate goal to buy these Rune Stones and gain 65 victory points to trigger the end game. The unique facet of the deck building part of this is that as you're building your deck, you can play 2 cards to get resources, or the crystals, and the highest card you play is actually removed from the game completely. Mm-hmm. So you're thinning your deck while also buying more cards, and you're trying to figure out how to keep those most powerful cards around as long as possible, obviously, to benefit them from them the most before you actually have to remove them from the game. Essentially, the objective is you take the cards, you get crystals, you then use those crystals to create gems, and then once you have a set of gems, you trade those in for a rune stone, which grant you powerful ongoing bonuses throughout the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you said, it's a deck builder and then a little bit of resource management and engine builder there, so it combines a lot of the elements that we really like. Mm-hmm. And when we busted it out, there was not a whole lot of overwhelming components to it, but the game really started to flow together nicely. And Corey, how did you even hear about this game?
It's been released in Europe for a long time. Just came over to America here recently, so just got my hands on it recently. And I was surprised at how light the game is compared to the way it looks. It is really more of a gateway, maybe middleweight style game that doesn't have a whole ton of complexity to it. But like John was saying, it's got that very unique, almost deck cycling mechanism where you're just completely culling cards and cycling through as many cards as fast as possible while getting higher value cards to protect your other higher value cards, because the higher the values, usually the better the ability on the cards. So you're just really cycling through and whipping through your deck really fast to try to race to that 65 points to be basically victorious. There is some endgame scoring in it too, so it's not just race to 65. It's not like a pure race game, which I tend to not like. I don't like just racing to a certain number and that's the winner. This has some endgame scoring that really adds some variability in it as well. We have some extra rune stones mixed into it from the first expansion, which added a lot of variability too, which I thought was nice. And yeah, it was a surprise game for me for it being really fun.
Yeah, and it felt really balanced. That when you said higher value, there are 2 types of value. There's the card number on it for the rank in terms of what card would be eliminated from the game when you play it, and then the more impactful cards. So that balancing act between what is good value, and there weren't any cards that seemed like they were too powerful. Yeah. There were some really good ones, but everything was dynamic. And when we played it last night, John and I tied for first place, and we had 4 players, so it wasn't just Corey then bringing up the rear. But it was really fun, and it was a pretty fast-moving game. John, what are some of your thoughts on it?
It was a lot of fun. I like like I said, I like the deck building mechanic and cycling through your deck. I also like how there's a balance also between the better cards and the energy on them. The energy is what you're using to buy more cards out of the deck row or the buy row, and being able to play cards with more energy will get you those really good cards when they first show up on the board, and that was important to also balance and factor into your gameplay. I think the other cool thing was obviously the rune stone abilities. Obviously, we found one that was probably more, I wouldn't say broken, but a little
stronger,
a little powerful. Mm-hmm. Definitely took advantage of that, which probably helped towards that top spot for both of us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there is that pressing feeling of racing to grab different things in this game. like grabbing the higher value cards before somebody gets it, or grabbing the runestone you want before they are all gone, because those runestones, those abilities are really game breaking. Right. They're very powerful, and if you can build those up quickly, you definitely feel more powerful than the other players.
Yes, and the fact that you couldn't do everything in one turn, like you could only take one action, so nobody could just boat race way ahead of everybody else. Everybody was in the same kind of segmented, but it didn't feel like it was like jarring or station to station, that you had things you could be doing and your strategy could change, and it wasn't all dependent on the cards or on the rune powers that you acquired. It was a nice mesh of it. So I mean, I think we all really enjoyed it.
Final first impressions, and we're not doing any ratings on it, I suppose, yet.
No, but I mean, we all really liked it, and I'd like to throw this into rotation.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good.
So you may see this in our upcoming Extra Life, which will be taking place when and where, John? Well, we're not gonna say the where.
No, yeah, let's not do that. Extra Life charity is on Saturday, December 18th, starting around 7 a.m. We hope, as long as everything goes well.
Yeah, and we have a video coming out that'll be more specific about our Extra Life plans and all that good stuff. So check that video out as well. So
yeah, Runestone's on the keep list. We're not getting rid of it.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and look forward to it coming out in more circulation.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yes. Yep.
As it comes across the pond, as they say.
Another new game in circulation, an older game that actually came out in, I think, 2016, but the new version, the 2.0 version, just came out recently, and that's Great Western Trail.
Oh, which we also played last night?
Yes. And I kind of want to start with your guys' opinions on it, because if you've all watched the channel for a while, you know this is my favorite game of all time. It has not been dethroned yet. My last 3 years in a row of my top 50 games of all time, this has been number one each time. So we did play 4-player last night, which it runs a little long at 4-player, I will admit. Usually at 2 or 3-player, this game really goes a lot more snappy. But what did you guys think, other than the game length? I know that we really got kind of bogged down with that. What did you guys think of the gameplay?
I thought it was fun. I mean, I won the game by like an overwhelming margin.
Yeah, yeah, you did. You won by a lot.
And if he doesn't win, he doesn't usually like
cowboys and cattle and wrangling, house building. I mean, there's just a lot of avenues to winning this game. So between selling your cows off to the various cities and trying to get the points up to get to the better cities, or trying to get your builders in order to build the more powerful buildings to either tax people as they come through on the trail or to get various other benefits. And I think what's the last thing that I really took advantage of? The conductors. Moving your train up the track, there's certain pit stops you can make, throw a discount on there, or pay something, and you get either end game points or a bonus token for additional end game points based on some other aspect of the game. So I thought it was cool. I had a lot of fun. It was a little slow with 4 people, but I think as you get people accustomed to the game and play it a few times, it'll pick up and be a much more pleasant experience.
And I agree with most of that too. There was a lot initially. I like how the game started out simple, and then you're changing the board as you're going along. So you're making it more complex as you go along. I liked that. I liked the different avenues for success in it, the different paths you could take. And then I even liked at the end people trying to like rush to get the game finished when you felt like you're in a position to win, and then when our 4th player was really just checked out and wanted to be done, then there's a little bit of just racing to get to the end. I liked that. I'm going to need to play this game a few more times in order to get a better feel of my strategies, because I went a lot with the building route, and initially that put me in a position to succeed, but then very quickly, as I was further behind in terms of not being able to get as great of returns from the cowboys, from getting the cattle, or from the conductors and the bonuses that you could get there, I realized that a little too late in the game. But I really had a pretty good first positive experience, and I really enjoyed the game and will want to play it a lot more.
Yeah, and I think that there are like three main avenues to take in this game for victory, and it almost seems like you can diversify a little bit between like the cowboys and the conductor strategy and kind of mix and match that. But I think if you're going the builders route, I don't know if you were strictly builders or if you were trying to dabble in other things too, but I feel like that is a little bit of the weaker out of the 3 strategies if you're not just completely going gangbusters on it and just seeding the board with all your buildings. Because in this game, if you land on somebody else's building, you get 1 auxiliary action, a single. It's almost worthless. And if you're just seeding your board with the majority of your buildings, you've got all these great actions that you can take. In the meanwhile, people are getting slowed down by not taking very optimal actions. But I think that's really if you were just to exploit the craftsman strategy completely. So, yeah, I mean, I've loved this game ever since I got it because of the different variable strategies that you can choose. And just a bunch of different things going on. I think it is a little bit of a heavier game. What really appeals to me is not only upgrading your own player boards and kind of creating your own strategy, but also that mixed in with some partial deck building and cycling through the cows through your hand. And when there's a little bit of that deck building element thrown into a game, that really sings to me no matter what the game is. Even in Runestones, for that matter, that little bit of deck cycling or trying to cycle through your cows to get different ones by the end of the route, that sort of thing, the hand manipulation really appeals to me.
And I like the theme of it too. The Western theme and the different types of cows that you could get, and then the moving the train along to get to the further cities to be getting more points. I really like the theme, and I know that that's kind of your jam, that Western theme.
Yeah, I like it because you don't see very many board games with the Western theme.
Unless we're looking at your library.
There's really not a ton out there.
Yeah.
There's not a ton. There are a few different titles, but it is good to see. And it's Alexander Pfister. I love most of his games. I have a lot of Alexander Pfister games on my shelf, but this one is obviously my favorite out of all of his titles. So great designer. He knows what he's doing.
Cool. So without further ado, this is us here at Talking Cardboard. Bear with us as we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, which again is a really big deal. We're super excited about that. And we're looking forward to Extra Life and a few more things. So stay tuned to our channel for other upcoming content.